Miami Dolphins. The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got a man. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good, Neal? What is happening with Neal's screen right now? I believe Neal is frozen. That's what it seems happened to Neal. We'll get that fixed up real quick here. Give me 1 sec, everyone. There you go. He's gone. What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. And awkwardly, we are back here for another one. I was joined. I should be joined any minute now by the homie Neal Driscoll. We'll wait for that to happen. It looked like he had frozen up. I hope everyone is having a fantastic, fantastic week. It is Thursday. We are literally one day closer. Hold on a sec, guys. We are one step closer to the weekend, and tonight, myself and Neal, when he gets back in here, we are going to preview offense, defense, special teams, unit by unit, everyone remaining on the roster, as well as cap hits heading into free agency, because next week, as usual, I will have my free agent, top 10 free agent targets and honorable mentions. So I'll give you guys about 20 names. We'll have some all 22. It'll be a good episode. So this is kind of a primer. That'll be coming out next Friday. Be on the lookout for that. And here we go. So be out on the lookout for that. We got a lot of stuff coming away. So this will get you guys started for that. And then after I drop that video the following week, me and Neal will be talking about free agents and stuff too. But get ready for that. So this is to get you primed for next Friday's video. Welcome back, bro. How you doing?
Good, man. Sorry, a little technical difficulties, but Cloud9, man, the Zach Thomas thing, I think I was texting you full cups of whiskey when that was officially announced. But I got nervous there because they announced it pretty late in the thing. And I didn't look at Twitter because I wanted to get like a natural reaction from it. You know what I mean? So but when I saw Jimmy Johnson out there and that video, right, when he goes to Zach Thomas's house and his voice is all crackling, man, whew, I was like watching Bambi when I was 6 years old. It was one of those things, man, but it was awesome to see Zach get in. I mean, we're right around the corner from, everyone having to make their franchise tags official in the next 10 days. The Dolphins are already linked to a lot of players, a lot of news surrounding them, free agency. And, the Dolphins have become one of the most interesting teams in free agency in football over the last 3 to 5 years. So, we'll talk about what we think is going to happen. But the reality with the Dolphins is expect the unexpected, right? Tyreek Hill came out of nowhere. We
knew they were in the market for He came out of nowhere, but we knew they were in the market for a wide receiver to pair with Waddle. We just didn't expect they're going to go out and get the best in the league.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And you might refresh my memory. I forget who it was. There was somebody that was like a prime target for the Dolphins, and I'm drawing a blank. And we all were like settling, like, oh, he's going to be great here. But then you go out and get Tyreek Hill, and it's just like knocks the doors
Are you
down.
talking about Debo?
Was it? No, it wasn't Debo. It was before that. It was before the Debo rumors. I forget who it was. I just remember being like, okay, that guy's a pretty good number 2. But now we get Tyreek.
No, do you remember the free agency where me and you were hearing rumblings that they were checking in consistently on Kenny Golladay?
Yeah. Oh, dude, for sure.
Thank God they did not pay that guy, eh? Woo-wee!
It's not like we did, but we didn't do much better with Will Fuller, except we didn't get some big contract. You know what I mean?
Hey, Neal, let me ask you this, and be unbiased here. Am I allowed to take a victory lap on the Will Fuller thing? Because I called the retirement how long? Remember?
You
People
did.
were like, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're not retiring. Like 9 months later, guy's retired, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. I mean, because I was excited. I'll be honest, I was excited when that happened, but nothing was like getting Tyreek Hill. Nothing. Oh, you know what? It was probably Amari Cooper. I think that's who it was.
And Barry said Terry McLaurin. Yeah, he said Amari. John. Everyone's saying Amari.
I think it was Amari. Yep.
I think it was too.
And
I was not down. I was not down. I remember I was not down for that. I was all in on Debo. But Shanahan was playing his games and blocking.
Well, now he's Mr. 49er, like now he went from the place to now he's Mr.
Well, it's because when we got Tyreek, it was a wrap.
I mean, look,
when they weren't going to play ball, from what we and you understood, that in the package, that's when the original, they tried to move Byron Jones in that package. Right. I've heard he was a part of that package and stuff. And man, I mean, they weren't biting on it. And
yeah, I'm not trading Tyreek for any receiver in this league, man. And maybe that's biased. No. I think what he can do, though, that play against the Chargers when the ball.
The only guy you can have the conversation for is Justin Jefferson. And the only reason I'd have that conversation still is because Jefferson's younger. That's the only reason I have the conversation, bro. Is because he's younger, right? That's the only reason why.
Couldn't we have had him instead of Austin Jackson?
Bro, listen, can you believe that? We were one pick away from either CD falling in our lap, which I think they would have just ran to the podium for because of how touted he was.
I think
we should have taken dude, I'll never forget, because remember at that time, Sirianni hadn't been hired yet, so the Eagles were my second favorite team at the time. Because everyone knows the story. I was a huge McNabb guy, right? And I was a huge Brian Dawkins. Brian Dawkins. Listen, I know Ed Reed is the best of my lifetime to play the position, but Brian Dawkins was my favorite to play the position in my lifetime.
And maybe one of the best leaders of all time.
Yeah, exactly, bro. And bro, just think of it. I played quarterback. You know how intimidating it would be seeing that guy roaming the. Remember, he had the dark visor, bro. Low to center gravity, bro. He would kill people over the middle. Man, I would
24-inch pythons he had, dude. He looked mean as shit. Bro.
I would not want a piece of Brian Dawkins, man. But anyways, I remember I was live on when we used to do the Tuesday night panel on TD and stuff before I started the channel. I was live on there for that draft, and the Eagles were up. And, bro, I like Jalen Reagor, but I thought out of that whole LSU court, Justin Jefferson was the best out of all of them.
Yeah, so, I like him
bro,
too.
I'm literally on record. I'm like, okay, Eagles are taking Justin Jefferson. And they took Jalen Reagor. I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now, bro? And I didn't even think Justin Jefferson would turn into what he's become. Justin Jefferson is Moss and Moss, bro.
Yeah. He's a beast, man. I mean, that one catch against Buffalo was what really made me believe. I knew he was really good. Justin Jefferson's great. Totally different player than Tyreek, though. And for our offense with Tua, I love Tyreek. I just love him. But, it's kind of like a 1A, 1B situation. You can't go wrong. But I think those two guys are head and shoulders. Even though Cooper Kupp's a great player.
Stephon Diggs is not in their league. I'm just sorry.
I don't think so either. And I'm a Maryland guy, and Stephon Diggs is one of my favorite players in the league. But he's not on the same level as those guys. And he's a great football player. Maybe some dissension there, by the way, with his brother.
I know, eh? Yeah. I think the only one that can get in their tier is Devontae right now. I think he's the only one good enough.
Yeah, you're right.
I think he's the only one with the right quarterback he can elevate into that tier, bro. Like, that's the only one I think, at least. That's my opinion.
Let Waddle find some consistent hands.
Yeah, bro. Waddle's already top 10. I don't care what anyone tries to tell me, man.
He's definitely top 10.
I'll go even on record, even with his issues with his hands, I'd still take him over Jamar Chase 7 days a week on twice on Sunday, bro. I'm sorry.
Me too. And that the play against Buffalo, the play against the Green Bay, because he's probably one of 3 guys that make those touchdowns. Like, I rewatched that Green Bay play today. And Adrian Amos, who's a good safety, who I wouldn't mind the Dolphins taking a sniff at. For those who don't know, he played at the same high school as me, and my buddies coach him and talk about how great of a worker he is. And then he went up the street to Penn State, and my wife went to Penn State, so we watch a lot of Penn State ball here. He'd be a great addition. But Adrian, he's a good athlete.
Yeah,
he's
an underrated guy, bro. He's very underrated, I think.
Well, he was even with Waddle for a second. But then Waddle it was amazing.
The burners, baby. He's got gears. That's the difference between Waddle and Tyreek and all these cats. They've got gears, man. Like, we're not talking like 1 and 2 gears. They got like a 3rd gear.
The burst,
you know what I mean?
Incredible. It's uncovered. Yeah. It's unstoppable. That's why, like, the thing is, heading into last season, we heard Mike McDaniel say we were going to yak teams to death, right? We saw it come to fruition last year, and there's even more room for improvement, I think, if they focus on some of the.
My apologies. I showed a chart yesterday between yak and separation, and I read it wrong. I flipped them by accident. What I meant to say was we were, I think, second lowest in yak behind behind the Bills, and then we were bottom half in the league in separation.
Wow. Yeah. It's interesting. But no, I mean, hey, who knows, man? I do think that the Dolphins are always poised to add a big name talent to this team. And it wouldn't shock me if they did it again this year. And whether we like to admit it or not, the Miami Dolphins is officially a destination where players want to be. And it's not just because of the sunshine and no state taxes. It's because they're a damn good football team with a damn good coaching staff. And, I'm already excited for Monday morning at 11 a.m. to see the Vic Fangio presser, man. I think it's going to be must-watch TV.
Yeah. But, I mean, think about that. All that speed, and we still end up in bottom half in separation and bottom 2 in yak.
Right. Yeah, the one thing that gets me just nervous when you look at the receivers just a little bit is the little knick-knack injuries, right? Like, Waddle and Hill both battled ankles and it just scares me sometimes that I hope, and knock on wood, that it never becomes something bigger, because as dynamic as those two are together, I don't think even though Trent Sherfield started the season like gangbusters, when you look at the last half of the season, like, I don't know if we had a guy that I would outline to say he's locked in himself as the 3rd wide receiver going forward. I want to see Eric.
Craycraft showed flashes. Sherfield showed flashes.
Cedric had a big catch. Yeah, he had a big catch in the playoffs. I'll give him that.
And Cedric started to find his legs on special teams a little bit by the end there.
Yeah, I would hope that if we keep him on the roster, he secures that spot.
Dude, you think of what we can get with that money. That guy makes more than Jalen Waddle right now, and Jalen Waddle was the number 6 overall pick.
Do you think someone would trade a pick for him, though? You think someone like a late round pick?
Bro, dude, I've heard the Cowboys could be interested in either Byron Jones or bringing Cedric back.
Take them both. Have them. That would save us $20 million in cap space.
I think you'd only get one of them, though, offload. I think the one they'd take back, though, is Byron.
Yeah, because they need him.
They'd pair him with Diggs.
Yep, they need him.
He can go. I mean, knock yourself out, bro.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, you know what? And I know we're not going to get, we'd be lucky if we get a bag of footballs at this stage for that guy. But because there's multiple issues with him. Like, it's not just his value. It's the fact he has no guaranteed money, and wherever he wants, he's going to want guaranteed money. So the team's going to have to trade a pick, and they're going to have to pay him some guaranteed money. So
coming off of
it's a double dip.
Yeah. So he hurt himself, kind of by not getting out there. But it is what it is. I think, thank you for your 1 year of service.
Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Would you trade Byron in a third for Tony Pollard?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, I love Tony Pollard. I don't think
Because did you see what the deal is today? That if Zeke ain't restructuring, they're cutting his ass.
Yeah, well, I knew that's going to happen. They like Pollard outplayed him significantly.
Yeah, but his agent's like, we're gonna go at the combine, we're gonna check his value and sniff around. Like, what do you think? You really think a team's gonna pay that guy 12 to 14 million? Are they crazy?
No, the guy. I have a clear cut running back that I want now. I would want Josh Jacobs. I would love to see him here.
Yeah,
I think he's young.
I know if he gets free, we're an option, but I don't think he's gonna get free because now I'm hearing rumblings that they're gonna fucking tag him, which shocks me because McDaniels doesn't spend money on a running back. And was he really just putting the kids? McDaniels didn't seem like he's putting Josh Jacobs' foot to the flames. It felt like he really just didn't want him there. He got rid of Carr. He got rid of him.
You know what
they drafted Zamir White, right?
I think they're trying to make that place as attractive as they can for Aaron Rodgers. That's what I personally think. I think
if you're going to get Aaron Rodgers, then you got to keep Josh Jacobs
and Darren Waller and Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow. I mean, that's attractive for an Aaron Rodgers. Where a lot of people will talk the Jets up. The Jets have a good defense, but
listen,
Garrett Wilson,
can I tell you? Listen, because dog, bro. This is what I keep telling people about, and this is what I keep telling people about Lamar, and you know this. And people got to look at Aaron Rodgers the same way. What people need to start realizing is players don't want to deal with that media.
No.
You don't, Baltimore is already a crazed football town. Green Bay is a crazed football town, but they're not massive media outlets. Do you really think these guys want to really go and play in New York, bro? People, it's not the
I don't think
what people need to realize. It's not like the Rangers. People for some reason people want to go play for the Rangers. I never understood that, but it's not like it's the Rangers, right? Where it's a hockey market and it's a little bustling, but we're talking about like the Jets, bro. Like that is one of the most hardest, critical. Unfairly critical mark because look at how many guys do you people watch on FS1 or ESPN, Neal, that are Jets fans? Isn't that Greeny guy a Jets fan?
Mike Greenberg, yep.
Yeah, a lot of these people, like these big sports outlets are stationed out in New York too. Like, I don't know, man. You see, that's one reason why a lot of players don't. That's a lot of reason why people don't want to go to the Knicks, right?
Yeah. I don't think the Jets get either of those two big names. I think that they're going to have to get aggressive to get Derek
I think they're going to get Ryan Tannehill.
I saw that there was a lot of interest there, which just – and I'm not going to crap on Ryan Tannehill. I actually don't think he's too far off of a Derek Carr, where I have Derek Carr probably as my 12th best quarterback in the league, and Ryan Tannehill's probably my 16th, 17th. So there's a gap, but it's not astronomical. I think when the dust settles, what would happen is Aaron Rodgers will be in Las Vegas. I think it's just, if you think about their team, McDaniels needs a quarterback that can win now. They have that new stadium. They got to sell tickets. Yeah. They have a good offense. And I truly believe that Lamar Jackson, if traded, will be an Atlanta Falcon. The tag's going to happen. The exclusive franchise. They hired an offensive coordinator, Todd Monken from Georgia. I think it's like a C+ hire if you ask me personally, but I know for sure that when they hired him, they told him there was no certainty Lamar Jackson was going to be the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, which tells me that Lamar is not budging off a fully guaranteed contract. And they want to move him out of the AFC. And there's a lot of smoke around the Atlanta Falcons. And it'll be really interesting to see what happens because I think at worst they get 3 first-round picks. But I think that they're angling for 3 first-round picks and a player. And if that happens, the player I think could get moved is cornerback A.J. Terrell. The Ravens have a cornerback need opposite of Marlon Humphrey. And if you remember, the Falcons were within inches of winning the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes when the Browns came in and gave fully guaranteed money. So they were right there when that happened. So I think that's how those things shake out. I do think Derek Carr is going to end up in New Orleans because that's the only team he's really talked to. And he forced a release right after that visit, which tells me that visit went well. You've already seen the Saints try to shed.
And he's trying to structure it so it can help the team and make it work.
It's going to be we always talk about this, how you can restructure. The Saints did all of that last year. So they're in like legitimate cap hell. So what they're going to have to do with him is get him a deal where he takes majority of his year one in a bonus and have a low cap hit. But that GM's got his work cut out for him to make that affordable. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, man, like Jimmy Garoppolo might have to find himself a backup role again. I mean, I don't know the team that's going to let, unless one team I could see be interested in him is if they can't work out Daniel Jones's contract, potentially the Giants.
They'll work. I think they're going to work him and Saquon out. Knight wants to know Brian and a third for Dalvin Cook. Is he dumb?
Absolutely. I will. It's a 19-hour drive for me. I will go pick up Byron Jones at his house. I'll pick up Chris Greer, and he can write third-round pick on a Post-it card, and I'll drive to Minnesota and drop his ass off. And then I'll say, hey, Dalvin, come on in. Come back to I will drive for 60 hours straight if that's what it takes.
And I'll fly and meet you in Mini, and I'll drive on the way back because I'm not sitting in the car with Byron Jones. Good luck.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm just going to sit there and rip on the guy for the whole drive, bro.
But Dalvin Cook, I mean, like this is – so – you know my theory on running backs. I don't ever want to pay second contracts to running backs.
No. Yeah.
But there's always an asterisk next to anything that you say because Josh Jacobs,
special talents.
They're special players. Like, and what I think they would do to this offense as a whole when you have that running dimension. Because look,
that next level we're looking to reach.
Yeah, I like Raheem Mostert. I think he's a great number 2 running back. I will say this: I don't think any team's afraid of Raheem Mostert. But I'll tell you what, they're afraid of Dalvin Cook. I'm afraid of Dalvin Cook. I hate playing that dude. But no, it'll be interesting, man. I'm excited, but we got, I think what we're doing today, taking a kind of a bird's eye view of the Miami Dolphins, roster and seeing.
We'll do that. Well, before we hop into that though, let's talk about this because people have been wondering this. A couple of us were expecting the Dolphins to wait on Fangio and bring the Rolodex in. Doesn't look like that's quite the case, Neal. Hal Habib, he tweeted out just yesterday, league source confirms that Vic Fangio is signed to be defensive coordinator of the Dolphins. Special teams coordinator Danny Crossman is on track to return in 2023. Tell me I
don't like it.
I'm cross-eyed and I'm dyslexic and I'm reading this wrong. I don't know. Right. Tell me something.
I guess we can't make every move a good move, but it makes no sense to me. The Miami Dolphins had the worst special.
You know what it feels like? Can I be honest with you? Sorry, I had to say this before you get it out because I want to hear your thoughts on this. Feels like Greer and Garfinkel's still meddling a little bit, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the Danny Crossman connection that well, but I will say this:
he has nothing to McDaniel. Yeah. Anyway, his performance. If Boyer got canned, Crossman should have been in the front seat of the Uber out of town.
Right, and there's better options out there. I don't get it. Look, if you think about it, the only thing on our special teams that was a bright spot was Thomas Morstead. He had a great season as our punter. Like, I know Jason Sanders hit some big kicks at the end of the year, but, man, he was inconsistent all year. He put us behind. I would say that he lost us a game in totality of his performance last year. We never could get anything going in the return game. And to be honest, I think we were dead last in the NFL in coverage. Like, I don't get why he's coming back. And I think for a team like the Miami Dolphins that are a young team that every phase matters, you have an ascending offense, top 5 in the league. You're going to have a defense that's going to make the biggest jump in the league this year. And I would hate for this team to be hamstrung at all by their special teams. But one thing I will say is it looks like Rex Ryan has a real shot at getting the Denver job. And we joked about Rex Ryan as a candidate a few weeks back. Good football coach, but that might ultimately land Sean Desai as part of Fangio's staff, right? Which would be very, very awesome to have because
I'm hoping that happens just so I can get another one right.
Well, that would be awesome because then you have your defensive coordinator in training under Vic Fangio.
And Ed Donatell's coming in because that's why they were looking at Tom.
His son, yeah.
Why do you think that's such a scratch my back, I'll scratch yours?
But I do think this is the reason. I think they have to make one all-season priority, and you don't spend a high resource on it, but you have to find somebody that can help this team in the return game. a guy who's a late round receiver with speed that can help as a kick returner or punt returner. You need one of those guys. Like, I'll say this. He wore out his welcome here, and he had a torn ACL this year. But for very, very cheap on a 1-year deal, I wouldn't be hating Jakeem Grant to come back. I'd knock you out of your chair.
No, look at everything went blurry. I got knocked out so hard.
But I know he dropped that 90-yard touchdown that Tua threw right in his pocket. But he is a good return man. But I joke because he's going to cost money. But you need to go find a guy like that can help you in the return game. And, there's always those guys late in the draft. I don't like last year, Raheem Mostert was our starting running back. I don't like him returning kicks. The risk isn't worth the reward. If you're going to let a guy who's a starter return kicks, Jalen Waddle probably would be the best return man in the NFL.
Why they should have turned? This is what I was saying. Why didn't they turn a guy like Braylon Sanders into that with that 4.4 speed? If you weren't going to use him as a receiver anyways, they should have just developed someone into return. Like, what do we have this year? We got a second, 2/3. We got a what?
6th and a 7th.
We don't have a 5th.
No, we don't have it. We traded it to Chicago.
So the 6th, you got to find your guy in the 6th then.
You know what I was thinking of? Reason I'm thinking about out loud, because Baltimore's going to revamp their wide receiver core this year. And they have a guy who's a back-to-back Pro Bowl returner in Devin Duvernay.
Yeah. There's no way they'll let him go.
Dude, I think they would potentially let him go.
Bro, he was sitting right there for us late in that draft, too. And I was so bitter we did not get him because I loved him coming. He came out of Texas, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 11.
I loved him coming out of Texas, bro. And so was the other guy who was sitting there, too, was the kid that I loved out of Minnesota that year, Tyler Johnson in Tampa.
Well, here's a trade I'll throw out there that I think would happen because
Devin Duvernay is a stud returner, bud. Stud.
Well, we could free $11.6 million if we traded Emmanuel Ogbah. Before Ogbah re-signed with Miami.
For what? Who is taking that on, bro?
Well, before he re-signed with Miami, Baltimore had a higher offer for him. I don't know if anything's changed coming off the injury, but Ogbah's a really good fit for their defense. He plays that,
Bro, I thought you said Noah Benogany. I don't know.
No. Did I might have said
no. You said Ogbah. I misheard. That's all.
No, I was thinking.
That's why I said who would trade for that. Now you're talking about Ogbah. Then I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Maybe you do something like Ogbah in a 6th to get Devin Duvernay, because I think that would be your return man and your best option as a number 3 receiver. It's not always about making the splash, right? It's about finding talented players. Right fit. And Duvernay had his moments in Baltimore. He did have a season-ending injury, which I have no idea the status of because I don't follow the Ravens like that. But it'd be interesting to see. I mean, but at the end of the day, we can't have a guy who's our starting running back returning kicks every single time he catches the ball. I agree. It was awful.
Ready? You want to do? Let's get into this. We'll go unit by unit offensive, defensive, and special teams review, and then we got a couple other things we're going to get into. We got a couple articles coming out from PFF and CBS talking about the same potential cut candidate for the Miami Dolphins. On top of that, the NFL.com put out their quarterback rankings.
So much.
Tua made not only the top 10, but on the cusp of the top 5, my friend. And then we're going to take that boy Neal right down memory lane to last week over Zach Thomas. And he had some interesting things that he divulged about how Belichick tried to lure him to New England, but us, the fans, made him say, no, I'm not doing that. But let's start off with this, Neal. And we'll start off on offense, all right? Yep. Now, these numbers I use spot track. So there's only a little bit of a discrepancy between spot track and over the cap, right? But it doesn't really matter. You can basically use the same things if you want. Anyways, so let's start off offensively. Quarterback position right now under contract, and these are just players under contract. Right now, we have Tua and Skyler under contract, total cap hit of $10.523 million at that position, which, Neal, compared to everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you run to get that fifth option done now, man. I like the people that say you don't do it. $23 million for Tua Tagovailoa when Jalen Hurts is about to get $50 million. Look, Hurts had a good season. It is what it is. I take Tua over him. If you could get Tua for an extra year at $23 million, this shouldn't even be a debate at this point. It should be done. Give him that fifth-year option.
Yeah, I agree 110%. Now, at running back, because I don't quite know what Lovett's situation is. Is Lovett under contract?
I think he is. Because I saw him on the. Spot
Track did not account for him, but Over the Cap did account for him.
And it's another weird thing is that they had Eric Fisher as an offensive tackle there, and I think that, and I might be wrong with this, but I think that because he didn't play this year, that the contract the Dolphins gave him pushed to next year. So I think Eric Fisher is
because I got Fisher on this, but I do not have Ingold on this because they did put Fisher on that.
You mean Lovett? Oh, you don't have Lovett on this.
Yeah, I don't have Lovett. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, well, that's pretty impressive. That because low key, look, Eric Fisher's a walk-in injury, but that was that was something I looked at today and I was shocked. But yeah, I mean, look at that running back list though. Alec Ingold, love him, Warrior.
That's it.
We need 3 running backs, so we're definitely going to draft one at some point. We're definitely going to sign some free agent. If we draft one high, right? We're not going to go out probably and spend big, but maybe a guy like Alexander Madison from Minnesota is a guy that you could get on the deal. I think one of Wilson and Mostert will be back. I don't know who. I think I would go to Mostert. He talked like he's coming back.
He did. He was talking like he was coming to come back. I think, you want my opinion?
Yep.
They're going to run it back with Mostert and Ahmed, and they're either going to draft a guy or sign a guy and add him to the room.
Right. I think so too. I like Jeffrey Wilson. I thought he was a good acquisition last year, but I think that they have to improve the position
back to Tua's option right now. The reason why I'm saying Tua's option is you look at Burrow and all these guys are about to sign extensions for $50+ million. So his hit this year in the 50 year would be $23.2 million. You pick that up.
Right. Well, and what you have up there for the quarterback room is how I actually believe that we're going to go into the trade. I mean, we'll add a name, but I actually think Skylar Thompson is going to go into the season as the backup because I'm kind of in Rich Eisen's line of thinking, where if by any chance, unfortunately, Tua did go down, I think they're going to look locally to Tom Brady to be the name. I really believe that. I think because of that,
or you just tank the rest of the season out, get your best draft pick, and mortgage everything to go get a guy like Caleb Williams, baby.
Yeah, right. Or Drake May, or. So yeah, I think that they're going to go into that because, you and I think we both realize that Skylar has potential to be a backup. We want to see more out of him.
Yeah,
but I think the Dolphins are higher.
And you ain't going to be able to slide him onto the practice squad as a 3.
Right. I think they're high. I think Miami is high on Skylar Thompson. And I think that playoff game.
They should be. He has a lot of traits.
Right.
But he's a developmental project. There's a reason why he was a 7th round pick. People need to relax.
Right. So I've kind of given up because I was.
But you said the name, honestly, man, if we went to the draft and we didn't get Caleb because there's no way, give me, because I have an affinity since Sammy boy. I like my UNC quarterbacks.
Oh, Drake May is
that guy, bro. He is.
There's 3 or 4 other guys. Next year's quarterback class.
It's really good. Yeah, bro.
Insane.
Dude.
Yeah. Insane. I mean, you have guys that have insane traits, game changers. It's Deion's son. Deion's son in Colorado is going to be a guy that I think is going to skyrocket up the board. I mean, there's a lot.
Doesn't Deion's kid come out too?
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah, from Colorado. Yeah. He's a stud, man. I mean,
Quinn Ewers. I don't know if that guy's ever going to turn into what everyone thought he was going to be, though.
Yeah, he's just got to. Some of these quarterbacks got to, stay at pat. You know what I mean? A lot of them bounce around a little too much for my liking. But
my boy Jaden Daniels, he looked like he was going to be a stud early on at Arizona, but he never put on the weight and never properly developed.
Yeah, he is a skinny little dude, isn't he?
Yeah, he never put on the weight. Isn't what's his face? Isn't Heward's kid in that class too?
Who is it?
You remember the quarterback used to be the Dolphin quarterback Heward? Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, yeah, it is a good quarterback class. Caleb Williams, Drake May.
Well, there's going to be KJ Jefferson from Arkansas. There's Spencer Rattler who started. Spencer
that
Rattler,
attitude, bro. That attitude.
Well, he does, and I don't want him. I'm just saying he's started to play with.
Penix will be coming out.
Yeah, Michael Penix. It's a really good list. You're right. From Washington, Damon Heward's son is coming out.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart is a guy from Mississippi that
DJU.
There's a lot of guys. I mean, it's going to be a really good quarterback class. I mean, I think there's 3 quarterbacks.
Nick's right, and look at what he's turned into since he went to Oregon. I don't know.
Well, there's 3 guys that I would take over anyone in this year's class. That's Caleb Williams, Drake May, and I think I'm saying this right, Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, I would take all 3 of those. Yeah.
I would take them all.
The only one I would take Caleb Williams over everyone. And the only one that I would compete with is, and you know how I feel about the kid, is I just believe in the trades as well.
Yeah.
So, man, that Tyler Van Dyke hype died real quick, though, huh? Anyways.
I saw mocks that had him in number 5 overall at one point.
Oh, my God. All right, so we spent under $4 million because we only got 1 under contract. Wide receiver, though, we got Hill, Waddle, Wilson, Izakama, Tanner Connor, Braylon Sanders still under contracts. That's 6. And they're at about a $49.63 million hit. And let's be honest, after the first 2, the talent drop-off is quite fast.
Well, honestly, though, look, that's the strength of this football team is that receiver core. And you got to pick your poison. And I still believe that that's the best receiving tandem in football. So it's expensive.
I agree.
It's expensive, but man, I would have it no other way. I think the combo.
But most of the hit is who? It's 31 million is Tyreek, right? 31.45 million of that is Tyreek.
But you know what, dude? Honestly, and I'll say this, and it sounds crazy.
He's worth every dollar.
He showed it. I mean, that's the thing. Is when we saw that contract, I'll be honest, the excitement.
Buddy, he was a few drops away from having a perfect season. He catches that ball in the end zone against the Bills,
or the one he lost,
and we win that game. Yeah, or the one but if he catches that one in Buffalo against the Bills, Neal, with 2 out there, we win that game, bro.
Yeah, it's all right though. I think this is actually close to a complete unit because I think Izakama is going to get his chance, and I think they're going to probably bring back Trent Sherfield, and Trent Sherfield's only probably going to cost you $2 million.
Yeah.
It won't be a lot. So,
can we talk about Izakama for a sec though before you get on to the other guys here? Because I want your opinion on this. Because I don't think anyone on the channel has heard your opinion on this. My whole thing with Izakama is because people have been panicking, and I know you see it, Neal.
Yeah.
Don't you trust Wes Welker? He went to Texas Tech. He knows how underdeveloped these kids are in terms of their route tree coming out. Don't you just trust that if anyone knows when Izakama is ready or ready for the responsibility or the role, don't you think Wes Welker would be the one who knows best, Neal?
Right. Well, look, when you have a receiving core and you add Tyreek Hill and you already had Jalen Waddle, and look, you paid handsomely for a guy like Cedric Wilson, and Trent Sherfield and River Craycraft showed to really know the system. They have familiarity, and they played well here. Unfortunately, your 4th round wide receiver honestly just doesn't matter at that point. And it's a smart move to take a step back and develop them proper. I hate to say this, we didn't need Eric Uzakama last year. I think he could have helped in the red zone, but we didn't need him. And I think he's a guy that, he had a great preseason, and that's okay. That doesn't translate automatically to the NFL, but it was really good for him to get that under his belt. And I think, if you see that again from him this year, then you're going to start seeing him get that opportunity as, a 3rd, 4th receiver on this football team. But it's not like you drafted a receiver and, this is what the Dolphins used to do and throw out guys like Isaiah Ford and stuff like that. When you have the best wide receiver core in the league, guys like Eric Uzakama have trouble finding their spot. That's my body. It doesn't make him a bad player. It doesn't make him, a bust because he didn't do anything in year 1. He was a 4th round wide receiver. And if you look at last year's 4th round in the NFL draft, you probably find out of 32 picks, 5 to 6 starters. Not everyone starts. And you really find your starters in round 1, 2, and then it bleeds over to round 3.
Yeah.
Round 4, you're looking for depth. You know,
Yep.
you might find a starter, you might find a good running back there, but you can't every pick, isn't going to be Tom Brady in 2000. It's just not going to work like that.
Exactly. All right, guys, 375 of you in the room. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. A tight end, Durham Smythe, Ethan Carter, Hunter Long, $7.925 million. You got Gesicki's going to be hitting the free agency, probably looking for about, he's going to be looking for over $10 million.
But I heard he's going to get top 5 tight end money in football.
That's crazy. That is unbelievable. Good luck to whoever pays him that and expects a massive return. Enjoy it. Right now, and this is why you see a lot of people wanting to add a tight end in a mock draft or whatever the case may be. You know what I hate? If Hunter Long was the right guy or further along in his development,
we don't need anything.
I would be comfortable with this room. But because Hunter Long still looks like he hasn't made any strides, Ethan Carter is legitimately, let's be real with ourselves, a cut candidate.
He's gone.
They're going to have to add to this somehow, some way. What are your thoughts? And the total cap hit, because the total cap hit would be perfect for that unit. But what are your thoughts on the tight end group? Like, because, there's some, we can talk about it. Dalton Kincaid, Darnell Washington, Luke Musgrave. Like, there's all these kids out there. I'm not even going to talk about Michael Mayer because we're not going to get him.
Yeah, no.
But there's all these options out there in the draft. What are your thoughts on the tight end position in the room? Because, like I said, man, if Hunter Long was the right pick and properly developed right now, we'd be good right now, Neal.
Ethan Carter is definitely going to be cut. Hunter Long, I am shocked by his lack of development, but I can't count on him more than a number 3 at this point. And, he had he was on the field. He didn't get a lot of passes thrown his way, but man, a lot of people thought that was a home run pick for the Dolphins when they took him, and it's just not translating it. So I'm very concerned about his development.
Neal, we were just trying to cover our pain for them not taking Quinn Miners.
Right. Durham Smythe, I think, is a really good number 2 tight end, and
I agree.
I think he'll be back here. But I in the draft, if we look at round 2, the guy who I love is Luke Musgrave. I think he is a day 1 starter that becomes a bona fide rookie of the year candidate in this offense.
Do you want to spend a high pick on a tight end? Because I don't.
No, and I don't think that, because I think it takes the longest time to develop, is the position that takes the most development. But a guy that I would like in round 4, because we talked, or round 3, because we don't have a round 4, maybe we trade back in, is Sam Laporta from Iowa. I like him, but I don't think he's a number 1 yet. A guy that I think has been linked to the Dolphins out there in free agency is from the Raiders, Foster Moreau, who played at LSU.
I would love that pick.
Yeah, I actually think that that's a really good direction to go into. And then your room probably is Smythe, Moreau, and Hunter Long. And look, that's not going to make, anyone bring back memories of Gronk and Aaron Hernandez or anything like that. But
it's solid.
It's solid and
underrated.
Moreau's a great pass catcher, finds the end zone pretty well. And I think Durham Smythe's a great complementary player. Because, for me, the unsung heroes of the Miami Dolphins last year were either Durham Smythe or Alec Ingold. Both those guys did their job. You didn't get a lot of flash about them. Durham Smythe, frankly, for 2 years has outplayed Mike Gesicki. And
I agree.
We can talk about that in verbatim. But look, the bottom line is Mike Gesicki is not going to be a Dolphin. His tenure here is over, and it ended in severe disappointment. So they're going to need a tight end. I'm with you. I tend to think that, I know it's a guy you like a lot. My starred circle player, unless Jahmyr Gibbs is there for round 2, is Jack Campbell. That's my guy. That's who I want. I think he's a plug-and-play Pro Bowl linebacker. I think that defense, I think he could become
brother
a year candidate in Miami.
Do you know how much it hurt this year to watch the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl? And the second level is not only Nick Bolton, Neal. Do you remember how badly I wanted Leo Chanel and he went 1 pick after Tyndall to the Chiefs?
Yeah, they looked fast out there, man. So, it is. But the tight end room, that's one of our biggest weaknesses, right? There's no doubt about it.
K-Jack says, how about O.J. Howard as a tight end too? He's pretty cheap.
I'd have to see the contract, but
I'd be interested. I'd be intrigued.
I'd be interested, but I would. I think he'd be kind of more of a Durham Smythe than a number one.
All right, offensive line. Armstead, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg, Robert Jones, Lester Cotton, Eric Fisher, Keon Smith. Total cap hits $43.533 million. So we're talking like wide receiver room money almost.
Yeah.
And that brings a total offensive cap hit to 115.34. Now, again, I believe what's it called? Over the cap, I think they have us at like 117 offensively. So not that huge of a no, they have us at 116 and 116 and a half. So not that huge of a discrepancy, right? Only about $1 million, give or take, between me and over the cap based off the numbers I was seeing on Spot Track. You look at that offensive line unit, bro. Now, let's talk about a few players on here, okay? Let's talk specifically. Let's talk about Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg.
Okay.
Brother, we can't roll in with these guys. Both these guys again being given a shot here. And the problem that I've got, dude, is Austin Jackson, for example. You know what I mean? You look at his cap hit right now, and his cap hit isn't crazy, but I say to myself, right now, what are they going to find with a cap hit of $4.4 million? And the problem with him too is, you don't save anything unless you trade him. Either, you can save $2.4 million and eat $1.87 million, whether you trade him before or after June 1st, right? Liam Eichenberg, who they invested all this draft capital in to move up and go get, he's got a $1.594 million cap hit. Now you can save $1.388 million on a post June 1st trade or release. Are we really going to have to bloat this number up to $60 million to get this done? Like, how do you see this working out, Neal? Because money's got to be moved around here, bro.
Right. I think Terron Armstead is going to be restructured.
Yeah.
I think Connor Williams should get a extension, which would probably lower his cap hit this year. But I think the Armstead Williams Hunt trio are. I think Armstead's an elite player when healthy. I think Connor Williams and Robert Hunt are very good players. So I think those three guys are obviously the strength of the line. I'm very intrigued about this Eric Fisher situation because I think if healthy at right tackle, Eric Fisher is actually a tremendous upgrade to what this team saw last year, with that caveat being, is Eric Fisher ever healthy? That's the one question. I think Austin Jackson and Eichenberg will both be back. I think Austin has more value because he's younger. And if I was him, I would literally attach myself to Terron Armstead. I would trade with Duke Manyweather, and I would do everything I could do to get stronger and show that I'm a resource here, because I think that Austin Jackson at worst could be a good swing tackle, or I think he's a better option than anyone we have on the roster at left guard. Eichenberg will be here because the coaching staff likes him more than us. I think Robert Jones will be here because he's a good depth piece. I'm very intrigued by Lester Cotton. He played really, really well in a spot start that no one saw coming against Buffalo. But I do think they got to add one talented piece here. So I need clarity on the Eric Fisher situation. I got to make sure that he's on this roster, and that will make me feel a lot better about this offensive line. But I've seen enough evidence to say that Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson are guilty of being overdrafted players that will never develop into quality NFL starters. And that's
just so you know, because I just did it while you were talking. If you restructure Terron Armstead, you save $12.588 million.
Right.
And if you extend Connor, you save $4.336 million.
So $17 million right
17 million right there. And guess what? We're 16.37 million over. So you basically put us over the cap just by those two moves.
And disclaimer, because I know people always say, well, you can't just push the money downhill. The salary cap is supposed to go up $25 to $30 million next year.
You
the
can
Dolphins
push it down the hill. Yeah.
And before that even happens, the Dolphins are projected to be like 78 million under the cap. So the Dolphins are potentially looking at $100 million. If they do give Tua the fifth-year option, they'll still have $80-some million, and they can shave a lot of money off the books with cuts and stuff like that. So, like, the Dolphins could easily push some of that money downhill. It's strategic. It's not a penalty.
So just by looking at us, like I've done my needs show and everything like there, but wide receiver depth, got to figure out the quarterback backup plan, need to rebuild the running back room, right? Need to potentially add a tight end 2 or a borderline tight end 1, tight end 2 that can blend with Smythe. And we also need to shore up the offensive line. So
yeah. And you know what we're doing tonight? We're setting the stage. We're stating the problems. In a later show, we'll come and we'll provide our solutions for them.
Exactly.
Like, because there's a lot that I think, but just thinking out loud, the reason you don't go and pay a running back $15 million is because if you think about that, when you look at a tight end, you could probably get for
that could shore up the interior of our offensive line. That $15 million.
You could probably get Raheem Mostert, a starting offensive lineman, and a Foster Moreau, and probably have some change left over versus going out and getting one running back. And when you look at the needs assessment of the team, running backs of high caliber and high price tags, they're kind of a luxury.
Yeah, they are. You look at they got Christian McCaffrey because they thought they were ready to win in San Fran.
And this running back class, we've said this so many weeks already, but this running back class is so filthy. I mean, there's 20 running backs. I saw someone ask about Zach Charbonnet. Sign me up for Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, we've been talking about. Listen to any Fin 2D podcast for the last year, and we've talked about Zach. We've
been talking about Charbonnet for 2 years.
Since last draft season, really. Right.
I mean, there are so many good running backs that it would be sexy to get a Josh Jacobs, go run on an NFL shop, buy the jersey, get the bobbleheads, get all excited. But the reality of it is, you might be able to find the next Dalvin Cook in round 2 if Jahmyr Gibbs falls. You might be able to go find the next Maurice Jones-Drew in round 3. There are good players.
Or the next Austin Eckler, Alvin Kamara. You know what I mean? Because I look at Devin Achane, I just see Austin Eckler.
Well, Mike McDaniel, right? If a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs falls, well, obviously I think they'll run to the podium.
Yeah.
But if not, they're not going to force it because Mike McDaniel's offense is very friendly for the right running backs to the system.
But they wanted to take Rachaad White last year.
Right.
They were ready to take that was my boy too, man.
But there's a lot of wood to chop on the offensive side of the ball when you think about it, because they definitely need it.
I think, you want my opinion, if Devin Achane's there, they'll run. Yeah. If he runs in a 4-2, low 4-2, mid 4-2, they will run because of what that'll be in this offense, bro.
He's a beast.
If you got 4-2 coming up, you know what they're gonna say? That's the next Mostert. We don't need Mostert.
Yeah. Right? I mean, look, and I think they need to get younger. Well, they need to get younger. And look, Mostert and Wilson are 2 other players that were hurt on and off the whole back half of the season. And you can't, you'll hear me say this all the time. You can't help the club from the tub. You can't do it. And I'm looking at I'm just kind of pulling up my board now because I want to see how high I had Devin Achane. I have a feeling that I have 3 running backs in my top 30 pick. And I will be releasing this when it's all finalized. But yeah, I've got him as the 30th best player in this entire draft. Right?
Yeah, he's amazing, bro.
Wait till
the combine. If he runs a 4-2, bro, the combine. There's no way he'll be there.
All right, see, here's where I get excited, man. When you put this slide up, right?
Yeah,
I think our defense is almost
done. Almost done.
Well, you think about it, because Tua, Waddle, and Hill, and Terron Armstead, right, are 4 huge names. They're 4 of the, I say, premier players at their position in football, and we're top heavy. I think as a overall,
bro, look, we got 4 players at. I just want to say though, we got 4 players that basically edge outside linebacker, and one of them is what was good. Was he a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick?
Yep, from California, 7th round pick.
I'd look at how much money they're averaging out, almost $11 million per hit.
Right.
Anyway, sorry. Just I didn't even realize that's how I put it together. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying like that. Like you look at the defense. I actually think that the defense isn't as far off as the offense. To the being as good as the offense is.
Alf says Alf is advocating for us to take the running back out of Pittsburgh.
What's up, Alf? No, for sure, man. I love
Israel's a beast. Yeah,
and that's why I'm saying, like, look, again, we'll beat this the off season. I'm not going to be upset.
And I can only say his name when I read it. Abanikanda. I can only say it when I read it. I can't say it like off memory. I butcher it when I try to say it off memory, but when I see it, I can read it. But so I just call him Israel.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but he's a stud, man. He's in my top 10 too.
You're looking at the secondary to start, and I'm excited for an Xavier Howard bounce back season. I think he'll be in a better defensive situation. I think sometimes he's a little bit exposed traveling. It wasn't something he was doing here. Byron Jones, if we could trade him, we will to get the cap hit. If not, I think he's designated as a June 1 cut. I see no way he's back. Javon Holland, I'm so excited about, maybe more so than any player not named Jalen Phillips on this football team. Brandon Jones, like, something tells me that his injury is going to linger, man, and I have a hard time believing he's going to be ready for week 1.
His attitude's going to linger. I think he's a bitter individual, bro. I think he knows he was out the door.
No, I'm talking about Brandon Jones. I'm talking about Brandon Jones.
Brandon Jones. Listen, and I've been talking about it. Oh, sorry, man. That's the second time tonight I misheard you, bro.
No, it's all good.
And you know where I'm at with that. I feel scheme was going to make him an issue anyways. Now, you could have made him that dime linebacker, that hybrid linebacker, I think a sub-package linebacker or box player, let's call it. But I think his coverage skills were eventually going to catch up to him. Now, I said you could always supplement it where Verone McKinley is up top as the second guy and Brandon Jones is in the box. There's stuff you can do to supplement it. We got bodies to spread it around, but I really think either through the draft or through free agency, that's going to be an investment. Now, do I think they're going to go get a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, even though he'd be amazing in this defense? No, I don't think they're going to invest. I would love a Jesse Bates, and I know they would love a Jesse Bates, but I don't know if they're going to invest that kind of money in those guys or a Poyer. That's why when I hear a name like Von Bell, that makes sense. Isn't Juan Thornhill a free agent?
I don't know about Juan Thornhill, but you said Von Bell before on the show, and I think that's a great name. And I think Adrian Amos is another really good name.
That's
I think
a good one, yeah.
And a guy who's a little bit older, who's more versatile player that could come in, who played for Nick Vic Fangio, is Kareem Jackson. I could see a 1-year low cap hit deal to get a veteran in the back half. So yeah, I think you look at this as a whole. They could add a corner, but I think Kohu is going to be more of the nickel. We've heard they're looking to bring Nick Needham back, who you won't break the bank to bring back Nick Needham on a 1-year.
If he was drafted in 2019, Juan Thornhill was drafted in 2019.
19, 20, 21, 22. So yeah, he should be because he wouldn't have a 5th-year option.
And he's a beast. That guy's really started to grow into it, eh?
But
he's really started to grow into himself. But I'm talking about cheap options, not guys who are going to break the bank.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they're – because honestly, and I've been advocating it, Levante David, baby.
Right.
And if you're not going Levante David, go spend on a Tremaine Edwards. Go spend on the second level. We're looking at this right now. If you look at that, I know Byron Jones is out. But even still, we're just like, we all believe, Needham could come back. Needham can come back, right? Kohu and Needham can deal with the boundary and the nickel, and we can add yeah, they're going to add at least one player, but I don't think it's going to be, that money's going to be allocated more up in the front 7 now, I think. You know what I mean? Like,
I think they signed Nick Needham to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal and probably draft either a safety or corner in round 3 of the NFL draft.
I agree.
That's what I think they do.
Yeah. Yeah, and look at the amount of bodies we have. Now, again, you got to take Byron Jones off this eventually, but $43.19 million, Neal. And if you were to take Byron off, right? If you were to let's say we trade him,
13.6, right?
right? Let's say we trade him pre-draft. Post, right? You got to trade him post. So we save 13.6 million just off trading him right there. So that number would drop to what? Just below 40 million, right? Just below 30 million. So that'd be about 29 million when Byron Jones is out there. So you could afford to sprinkle around a little bit more cash. Now, inside linebacker, Jerome Baker, Channing Tindall, taking up about 13.912 million. Now, I do think Baker is coming off probably his best year in this system. He was quietly good, and take it for a guy who's never been hey, I like Baker, the person, the player. Didn't like the contract when we signed him. Still not a fan of it, but I think he's gotten better every year.
I think he stays.
I think he does too, because I think this system's I think he's gonna get even better under Fangio, and I think this system's a little bit more friendly. It's not the wide 9 he needs to be in, but I think this is gonna be a little bit more friendly towards him, and I think you've seen him getting better in 3-4 fronts and stuff like that. I think he's gonna continue to grow, so I'm fine with that, but we need some help. I mean, Atlanta Roberts is no longer there. Duke Riley's no longer there, and that's not very much help to begin with. But Atlanta Roberts was a thumper, did his job against the run game, did his job against, Anyways, my whole point is we talk about Jack Campbell.
Right.
This is why I think, I'm looking at this right now. We've looked at offense and defense. Unless we're talking about a punter, this to me looks like one of the most depleted position. This is screaming double dip in free agency and dip in the draft.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. You know what I want to do? I already told you my two guys, and I like Levante David too, so I would obviously be really excited. But
you like TJ Edwards, right?
Yeah, I would like the combo of Jack Campbell and TJ Edwards. I think that right there with Baker and Tindall would be
my God,
good, really, really good linebacker core.
Yeah.
So I'm not joking when I say this. I think Jack Campbell is a defensive rookie of the year candidate in this defense. I think he's ready to play now. He gets to the football. He's a guy Vic Fangio will love. And I think TJ Edwards, like, one of the things that really impressed me in the Super Bowl is, there was a play where he was in the open field with Travis Kelce, and he held him down to a 2-yard, and he just a sound fundamental tackle. I like Edwards, and I think that he'll come a little bit cheaper than the Levante David. And, Tremaine Edmonds obviously is only 24 years old, and he's a upper echelon linebacker, but that guy is going to break the bank. I think he'll get north of, a lot of people say around 15 million. With Roquan Smith just signing a $20 million a year contract, I think he falls right between 15 and 20. So I think you're looking at $17 million a year for Tremaine Edmonds. And I think that's a little too rich. But again, if they somehow made it work, he's a great football player. But I'm all about going with a Jack Campbell and getting a guy like TJ Edwards in here, a guy like David Long, Bobby Okereke. Go get a guy, and I think that you'll see a lot of change here. But I do want to agree with you on something that you said, where kudos to Landon Roberts, because, man, sometimes he would frustrate the hell out of me, but that dude played hurt. He was playing with reckless abandonment, throwing his body, and you know what, man? He made some big-ass plays for this football team. So if there was a way to bring him back as a backup player on a very, very cheap deal, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Landon Roberts back for one more year either.
Yeah. So edge, outside linebacker, we got Chubb, we got Phillips, we got Ogba, we got Good. 43.955 million between the four of them. Listen, I understand the intrigue because you can move Ogba into the interior as well. Do you really see them holding on to these four players and spending this much?
I do, man. And I still think they're going to bring back Melvin Ingram on a good, 1 year, $4 million deal. And the reason why, I think Ogba, man, just checks a lot of boxes. And I know last year, before the injury, he was not playing at a high level. But you know what, man? It took Jalen Phillips some time to get that engine going, too. And I just think they were really poorly coached and poorly schemed last year, where if you would have asked me heading into the season and asked me to power rank our players, I probably would have said that Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland, but I probably would have put Emmanuel Ogbah even above Christian Wilkins.
Yeah.
And heading into the season, and boy, would I have been wrong. But I still think Ogbah was a really good football player, and losing an Andrew Van Ginkel, I think you almost need Emmanuel Ogbah at this point. Now, if you bring back Melvin Ingram and you get him for $4 million a year, and you can find a trade partner and save almost $12 million with Ogbah, then it gets intriguing. But he's also a guy that if they restructure, they can save almost $9.5 million. So if they think that Ogbah is going to be here for the next 2 years, they can explore that route too. So it's expensive. One thing I will definitely be, I think Jalen Phillips is going to be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and I think Bradley Chubb is going to earn that contract playing under Vic Fangio. That's why I'll emphasize, and I'll keep saying this, the Vic Fangio move to me was a Tyreek Hill impact level move for this football team on the other side of the ball.
Yeah. All right, defensive line, Wilkins, Seiler, however you want to say it, Raekwon Davis, Jalen Twyman, who was a late addition, and then the other one was what's his face, Brunson.
It's Josiah Bronson.
Yeah. Isn't he practice squad technically, right?
Yeah.
So our total $17.37 million on the defensive line. That's probably gonna, and it might even be lower when Wilkins gets his extension.
And I think that's coming. I think that video.
What do you think? Do you think a Seiler extension's coming?
Zach Seiler is the most underrated player in the whole NFL.
I agree.
I truly believe that, and I think he will. But I think that for the Miami Dolphins Twitter video today, they had a Wilkins is foreshadowing. I think a deal's coming soon. I just haven't. Nobody's told me that. I just thought that was very interesting, and they've done it for Tyreek and they've done it for Waddle.
Yeah, the morphin time. Yeah,
but
when I saw that,
I do think that there's going to be a Christian Watson deal. And look, dude, that guy earned every penny, man. I
agreed. He's gotten better every year.
He was the best player on the defense.
The fact he's not an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler is an absolute.
joke. And Quentin Williams played amazing, and Chris Jones was amazing. It was hard, but I will say this: what we saw to Christian Wilkins.
Unbelievable.
Was beyond my expectations, and I had him as the 12th best player in the draft coming out the year he did. He's a better football player than Ed Oliver, who I wanted over Christian Wilkins at that time. But Christian Wilkins is a leader. Dude, he brings so much energy to this team. I can't say enough good things. Christian Wilkins to me is
I'm a fan.
He is a franchise player, and I'm shocked that I'm saying that, but I do think.
All right, listen. Everyone thinks we're gonna say. Listen, Neal, everyone thinks me and you are going to say, oh, Tua should have been a Pro Bowl or Tua should have been an All-Pro. He got screwed, but Wilkins got screwed. Wilkins is the one that got screwed, and so was Waddle before Tua. Let's be real.
I agree.
Wilkins got screwed the hardest. Wilkins deserved All-Pro and Pro Bowl way more than Tua.
And possibly Connor Williams.
Yeah.
He played, not as bad as those guys. Look. Christian Wilkins got robbed.
He did. He did.
But what's funny is a guy like him, man, that little shit motivates him. And I think that's going to be a really good thing for this defense. I think that's going to be in his crawl all year.
He's going to get paid too, though. So
yeah, good, man.
He don't care about no PFF rankings and all that. But let's finish this off because we got special teams, and then that's it. And it ain't much to really talk about because we're not going to get into gunners and returners. We're just going to get into the three basic positions. And Jason Sanders, total cap hit, $3.775 million. No signed punter. And there you go. Blake Ferguson, $1.057 million. So we got $4.83 million spent on special teams. And up until those last couple of games, Jason Sanders was an absolute disaster, and arguably our best special teams player from last year, Neal. He's not even on this because he's now retired, even though he said publicly on Twitter he's interested in coming back if they'll have him.
Justin Bethel? Who are you
talking about? Morstead.
Oh.
Tom Morstead. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I have a feeling that he's going. Like, I don't know why. I just assume this, but I
Are we
feel
gonna
like
dip our toes in the Matt Ariza sweepstakes now that he's been now he's a free
I don't
man?
think
Or
so.
I'm joking.
Let's start with Jason Sanders. I think Jason Sanders
Yeah.
is back. They stuck through him through the downside, and he ended the season on a better note. And you don't get much out of cutting him. You don't save much out of cutting him. Now, I think they need to bring competition in for him, but I have a feeling Jason Sanders is going to be the kicker day one. Blake Ferguson's interesting, right? Because he's a good long snapper, but it's not like he has a light cap hit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I like Blake Ferguson. I think he does a good job, but I don't really pay attention to the long snapper that much, if I'm being honest. So, like, it is what it is. The punter's interesting because I think Thomas Morstead was brilliant last year. And
He was.
if he wants to run it back with us, like, I'd make that happen tomorrow. So,
I agree.
but the special teams unit as a whole needs some help. I think that we all think that.
I agree. Speaking of everything we just did, it kind of just fits in with what I'm going to show you 2 articles. One was PFF, and this came out a couple days ago. They had cut candidates for all 32 teams, and who did they had for us? Byron Jones. They said Jones didn't play a snap in 2022 after undergoing ankle surgery in March. That at the time wasn't expected to keep him out for many weeks, if any. With new Dolphins defensive coordinator Vic Fangio bringing a fresh look of that side of the ball with heavy zone coverage principle, Jones isn't exactly a great fit schematically either. Wide receiver Cedric Wilson was a free agent addition last offseason who barely saw the field in his first season with the team, but $5 million of his $7 million 2023 salary is already guaranteed, which will probably keep him on the team. So they came out with that a couple days ago. Then just today, bro, it's the writing's on the wall. All right. CBS came out with the same thing, cut candidates, and who was ours? Byron Jones. His salary cap number, $18.351 million. All goes through all of his compensation and dead money. Says we could save $13.6 million with post June 1st. It said Jones was sidelined for the entire 2020 season after that ankle Achilles surgery last March. The Dolphins have not gotten their money's worth out of the 5-year, $82.5 million contract he signed in 2022 free agency that briefly made him the NFL's highest paid quarterback. Man, Xavier Howard's looking justified for not liking that contract because at least up until this year, he was giving us great play. And shout out to the homie Leonard Solomon with the $20 PayPal donation. Said, let's get Richmond Webb movement to the Hall of Fame started. Fins up. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Couldn't agree more.
We'll get to the Hall of Fame stuff in just a second, Leonard. So appreciate that. But sticking with this for a sec, the writing's basically on the wall for everyone, Neal. Is that contract a bust? And I'm going to add this. You know what? And I've brought this up many times before, Neal, and I know you know that. You know what really taps my ass the wrong way about this contract and him in general, Neal? Do you remember the subtle shots he was taking at X for not showing up because X wasn't getting paid? And he was saying, oh, well, I wouldn't be, remember he said something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing, but, I really wouldn't be worried about the money I would be getting. I'm a leader. I'm asked here to come lead. So and it's like, yeah, bro, easy to say when you're like top 3 paid cornerback in the NFL. And now it feels like his boy Flores got sent out of the building, Neal. And because his boy ain't there and he's not wanted in the locker room because his teacher ain't there, the teacher's pet's teacher's not around. It feels like, that's what it all feels like, You
made him the highest paid corner in football history, and he never even paid close to that contract. I can't wait till we stop having to talk about this guy. The cut's coming. He will be labeled as a post-June cut. I doubt we get anything in a trade for him, and that speaks volumes to what I mean. Look, he's an aging, coming off a major injury. He played solid for us in his first year here. One spectacular. I'll always say this. He was the Art Anderson. He wasn't the Ric Flair here. And at the end of the day, we paid him. He's made $70 million career earnings, and he didn't play this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's not dependable. We could have really used him this year. Conspiracy theories or not, I don't really care. It's time to move on.
Neal, not just a healthy Tua. If we would have had a healthy defense and a healthy Tua, we could have beat either one of those teams on Sunday.
Right. But, you either prove that you're part of the solution, and if you don't prove that you're part of the problem, and to me, Byron Jones is part of the problem. So, look, give me Nick Needham for literally, a ninth of the cost, on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
And let's move forward. I'm done with him. Get him out of here. But those articles are right because it's just common sense at this point.
Yeah. All right, NFL.com. Neal, they came out with they ranked all 68 starting quarterbacks from this year, Neal. Number 1, obviously, Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that's a shocker to any of us, right? Number 2, Jalen Hurts. He just made the Super Bowl, so right that they're just rolling off. I disagree too. I disagree.
It's
Joe Burrow, number 3, and I think he's number 2.
Me too.
Josh Allen, number 4, and I think he's number 3.
Agreed with you.
Justin Herbert is number 5. Place him as you want. Trevor Lawrence is number 6.
I put Lawrence above Herbert and Hurts.
I would agree with that after what I saw this year. Tua Tagovailoa is number 7, Neal. Now, all these people that want Lamar Jackson, have we seen Lamar Jackson yet, Neal? We've gone through 7 quarterbacks. Have you happened to see him yet?
But honestly, this is exactly where Tua Tagovailoa belongs.
I agree.
Is exactly where he belongs.
And if he does what he did over those first 12 games, over a 17-span season next year, doesn't get hurt, he enters the top 5.
When you're on your white knight mission to make Tua Tagovailoa this bad quarterback, and people are throwing out there Derek Carr. And look, I'm a Derek Carr fan. I said earlier that I think he's a top 12 quarterback in football. Derek Carr is not better than Tua Tagovailoa.
Love you, fake Spike.
We have not seen this level of quarterback play since Dan Marino here. People point to Chad Pennington's 2008 season. It was not as good as Tua's season.
Dude, he didn't even throw 20 touchdowns. He threw 19 touchdowns.
You know what? But the thing is, Tua was just as efficient. It wasn't even like, with the strength that Chad Pennington had here, Tua did the same thing. So I think
I lost my mind, and I'm not going to lose my mind, Neal, because you used the word of the week. I said this yesterday. It was the word of the day yesterday, but now you just used the word of the week. Neal, and you know how I feel. What do I tell you is my recipe for winning at the quarterback position? Efficient quarterback position, right? Elite efficiency, elite accuracy, elite IQ. Neal, Mahomes just won a Super Bowl without even throwing for 200 yards, Neal. And that's one of the best natural passes we've seen since Rodgers and Marino, Neal. And what's the key word you just used, Neal? We just saw arguably the GOAT in the first 5 years. He's got the GOAT first 5-year resume of any player ever. And what did he just win? He just purely efficiency. He's won running around and bombing it, but he's getting older. He's 5 years deep, Neal. And why people in the NFL should be worried, Patrick Mahomes has learned how to win off efficiency. That should worry teams.
I mean, look, dude, I ask 2 questions when I get a quarterback, right? Can I win a Super Bowl? Can I win a Super Bowl with him?
Yeah.
And I believe that you can with Tua Tagovailoa.
Agreed, so 110%.
That's the second. And the second question I ask is, does he make the team and the people around him better? Well, Tyreek Hill just had his best season ever. Jalen Waddle.
Neal, do you remember the efficiency charts in the first 12 weeks? How off the chart he was? Mahomes was number 2, remember? But Tua was almost going off the freaking charts, literally, bro.
You can't, if you're going against Tua and you're reading anything you can on Pro Football Focus and all this and all these charts that get out there, there's nothing for you to have that has any authenticity or that's valid that shows that he's not a top 10 quarterback in football. There's nothing that exists that says that Tua Tagovailoa was not a top 10 quarterback in football. You know what I mean? Like you can talk. I see people talk about some fumbles. Look, Jalen Hurts lost his team to the Super Bowl because he fumbled without getting touched. As good as he played, 4 touchdowns, he still made the play that lost his team the football game. I like at the end of the day, like people, I'll tell you this: if there was a tree and you could pick off Pat Mahomes and just throw him in your team, like that would be amazing. Pat Mahomes is a once in a lifetime type player. Yeah. He is the Michael Jordan, the LeBron James, whoever your fancy is.
He's the upgraded version. They come around every 20 years. Right. Marino, 20 years later, Rodgers, 20 years later, you're at Mahomes, basically, almost. They come around every, 20 years.
Well, we agreed. Like, I would say Tua's not far off Trevor Lawrence, or I think Tua's actually even been better than Trevor Lawrence. Like, so we're talking about a guy that's going to be fluctuating from
he has been.
Best quarterback to the 10th on the worst platform.
Well, did you see what his previous ranking was?
28. Right?
It was in 2021 his final ranking by NFL.com was 22, and in 2020 his final ranking was 28. He went from 28 to 22 to freaking 7.
Right.
That's
in year
huge.
one. In year one of Mike McDaniel's offense.
Yeah, wait for year 2, bro.
With a mediocre running game, a turnstile at right tackle.
Mediocre.
And
Dude,
Liam,
is that the new word for non-existent?
And Liam Eichenberg, who could make me look like Larry Allen at left guard. So, like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's unbelievable because you don't hear, and the counterpoint to that is you hear Waddle Hill, but we don't penalize Joe Burrow for Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon.
Marino for the Marks brothers. What are we saying?
We don't penalize, like, arguments have to have a consistent base.
Freaking Young had Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice, bro.
So, like, for me, this year is one of the most
top 3 ever. Realize that. And Dante Culpepper had freaking Randy Moss and Chris Carter.
And Jake Reed. But that's why this year was the most impressive year for me with Patrick Mahomes, because although he has Travis Kelce, he had a bunch of number 3s at wide receiver. And he still went out there.
Juju's a number 2.
Two.
Juju, number 2 was his number 1 basically in the Super Bowl.
Right. And then, Spalding didn't even catch a ball.
But again, Neal, that's the benefit of coming into the league with the Tyreek, and you learn the position at the pro level with a bona fide number 1. I've been telling people this, Neal, when the number 1 leave. Okay, listen, perfect example. I always go back to Brady, Neal. Perfect example. Because I know you're not an idiot. You remember football. You have a very good mind, and you remember football like I do. You remember like I do. Neal, simple yes or no. Was Brady racking up the yardage and the passing touchdowns before Randy Moss came around?
No, and honestly, that season he had the best statistics he ever had. He didn't win. He didn't win the Super Bowl.
Okay, right? If you actually look at it, Neal, he had never thrown 30 touchdowns in a season before Randy Moss existed. And then he jumped to like 50-something, right? And then what happened? He became a consistent 30 to 40 guy. And Neal, remind everyone, what position did you play in high school?
Receiver and strong safety, which is an inverted linebacker in my defense.
Okay, so a receiver. So you understand the brotherhood and everything like that and how it works with a quarterback, right? When you find your guy and that guy goes away, you learn, like when you're the young guy, you learn as a passer, you learn things from that receiver, where he likes the ball, right? When it comes to placement, where to put it on certain throws, how to anticipate breaks. You learn this stuff with this guy, these elite things with these guys. And what do, Neal? When the new guys come through, you pass it off to them. And that's like, what are we hoping Tyreek's going to do with Waddle, right?
Right.
He's going to pass off the secrets. It's the same thing that's what we saw. That's why the West another question, just a simple yes or no. Were guys remember, were guys like Wes Welker and Wes Welker and Julian Edelman being developed before Randy Moss came? No.
They weren't. They had success anywhere else. They didn't.
Yeah, didn't they have what was this? Remember they had he had veteran receivers early on. Branch, right? He had
Branch, Troy Brown. He had Troy
Brown. Yeah. He had like
David Gibbons, dude.
Yeah, it wasn't until after Moss he started developing guys too, bro. People will say that's a coincidence, but it's not, man. When you work with like Tua, even if Waddle leaves, the things that Tyreek's going to teach him from that position and what he wants from that position as a passer, it's going to be monumental, bro. Like, people just don't realize the ripple effects those kind of players have, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
and it's funny that you mentioned that season with Randy Moss with the Patriots, because I actually think there's a lot of parallels to this Dolphins team, and I'll explain why. I think last year, just like the Patriots did that year, it was the big home run bombs. Right?
Look at that. He went from 28 to 50 with Moss, bro. I wasn't lying.
It was the big home run bombs. Like, Moss.
Yeah, man.
And look, I think Jerry Rice is the GOAT, but I don't think Randy Moss is far off.
So, Terrell Owens is in the discussion too.
Yeah, but I just think that like once this offense becomes even more efficient, they stop relying on the bombs as much. They win in the intermediate game. They run the football more consistently. This Dolphin team gets more dangerous. So like they'll always have big play potential more so than any team in football because they have the two biggest dogs when it comes to big play potential in football. That is Tyreek Hill. That is Jalen Waddle. You can't argue it. I saw someone in this comments earlier say Devontae Smith's better than Jalen Waddle. I like Devontae Smith. I don't even think it's close. I think Waddle is
close.
better. I don't even think it's.
I said EM Dolphin fan. I said, "Yo, Devontae Smith had a really good game." First of all, EM Dolphin fan, he laughed. He said, "Yeah, he had a good game, but I'm still taking Waddle every day." Like it's not even close. Waddle's better than Jamar Chase, bro. I'm telling you.
I would tell you this right now, man. If I could keep one, and I think he's better player right now, I'd keep Waddle over Tyreek.
Waddle's. I've come to the conclusion that I love Tua, but Waddle's probably my favorite player on the team. But I gotta Tua, Waddle, Holland, and Phillips are like my favorite players.
Yeah, man. I got the new Foco Waddle bobblehead in the mail last week. It was beautiful.
Does he do the penguin Waddle?
Yeah, he does it, and it's on an ice base. It's really cool over there, man. But no, Waddle's the man, dude. But like, yeah, I think there's a lot of. I think this team, the Dolphins team we saw this year, we got in the playoffs. I think this offense is actually going to be better,
bro. It could be historic, dog.
Maybe Tyreek doesn't put up 1,700 yards because he doesn't have to. Like,
yeah, but bro, dude, how Fangio is going to unlock this offense, man? Like, people need to realize that this thing's going to get real quick. If Tua stays healthy, I mean, look at it. You saw my thread today, right? How you know, and I've said this on Finside the NFL. You know, why does he shred man? Why does he shred 3-4 defenses? Why does he shred Belichick? He's been going up that defense. Now he's going up against a defense that 11 teams in the NFL run, a third of the league, and Fangio's the godfather of. And this is the defense he's actually struggled the most against because it highlights a lot of the weaknesses of his you see on film. But now he's going to unlock that. Tua, never mind. We all thought he was going to take a step this year. Tua might take a fucking significant leap now, bro.
I didn't think he'd be the 7th best quarterback in football. I didn't think he'd be an MVP candidate.
Yeah, but we might be talking he's number 2 or 3 by the end of the season now.
I think you and I vividly, I remember saying that if
12
top 11, 12 play, we'd be ecstatic. He surpassed that for me.
By 5. That's great. That's amazing.
The injuries or the availability, because I hate to say the injuries, the availability. That is the only concern I have with Tua Tagovailoa. If he's on that field, I feel like 8 out of 10 times we're going to freaking win.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing. Like, you know,
aren't we 24-13 with him as a starter or something like that?
He's one of the best. And like, look, all these comparisons. Like, I've seen people
Herbert Kane struggling to get to 500, and this guy's like 11 game. I'm just saying, you got one guy in the class with all these weapons struggling to stay at 5 or get to 500. You got this guy 11 games over 500. It's ridiculous.
Here's the quarterbacks that are on the move, and you can ask every one of these. Jimmy Garoppolo, no way in hell you take him over Tua. Ryan Tannehill, it's laughable, man. Like Derek Carr, great football player. Laughable, not even in the conversation with Tua. Like, get out, like all the talent they've had, the musical chairs and coaches they've had to try to get Derek Carr where he needs to be. Come on, get out of here. Like, who else is going to be available? Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson's a brilliant football player. I think he's a borderline top 10 quarterback, but probably like a top 5.
I'm not paying him the kind of money he wants.
I'm not paying him 100% guaranteed contract. And honestly, I want Tua Tagovailoa over Lamar Jackson. So
there's not like. And this quarterback thing's already annoying me, and the offseason just started. They've already told us what the deal is, man.
Well, is Aaron Rodgers a better player than Tua? Yes. Was he last year? No.
But he ain't coming here. So.
Yeah, it's like it's old. Like, I don't understand why it's got to be the debate of the offseason. It's over. The Dolphins have moved forward. The Dolphins, if they wanted Lamar Jackson right now, trust me, he wants them. They could get him. Like, they would make it happen, right? If they wanted Derek Carr right now, Derek Carr would probably do backflips to come here and have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like, at the end of the day, the debate's over. It's going to be Tua Tagovailoa week 1 in September, probably against the Patriots on the road or at home, however they do it. And that's what I want, and I'm happy that it's over.
Let's get into the Zach Thomas thing.
All right, yeah, we're going to end on the bang, man. Our boy got in the Hall of Fame.
I'll try to be quick on the story.
So this is Zach Thomas,
cut by the Dolphins, Parcells told me that, you're 35 and linebackers decline after 35. So I'm like, man, I want to, because it's just the competitive nature. I want to shove it in his face, right? So I said, where am I going to go in the division? And so I said, I ain't going to the Jets. Hell no. I ain't doing that. So I go say, okay, let's go visit Bill Belichick. So I go out to Bill Belichick, and the genius himself, I want to learn from him, whatever. And they have that stacked defense. So I'm sitting across from Bill in a chair. He said, Zach, we're going to offer you. And I said, and he says, but I can't give you number 54. I'm like, man, Teddy Bruce is a legend, man. I don't want 54. I said, I want 53. That's Larry Izzo's number. That's my best friend at the time, and he got a good little smirk out of him, but he offered me, and I said, let me think about it. And I slept on it and woke up the next morning and said, hell no, man. I can't let down the fans, because they got my back, So that was one of those things. I don't want to get choked up right now. I'm a crier, but that's one of those things that come back. You know what I'm saying? And they always been good to me. So I thought it was the right move. So I went to Dallas, playing out of position, and it worked out. It worked out.
I mean, look at that, man. Like, and you're saying, you're talking about how it worked out and everything like that. How much he's so grateful how much people supported and wanted to get him into the Hall of Fame, eh? Like, you rarely see players actually show gratefulness towards the fans when they get in the Hall of Fame, and the campaigning that this fan base did for him, Neal. Like, you can actually sense the gratitude. Like, dude, when I first saw Jerry, when Jimmy got choked up, and when you saw him crying, like, bro, I shed tears. When I saw him actually get the announcement, like, get told, man, I got tears, because rarely, it just feels like with a lot of people, okay, you expect it. They just feel like it's okay, whatever. He deserved it. He earned it. And it's one of the few times it really felt deserved and earned. You know what I mean? So
Dude, Dan Marino made me a Dolphins fan. Zach Thomas made me a Dolphins fanatic, man. That is Marino is my one. Zach Thomas is my two, and it's not by far. I mean, look, for me, I'm a local guy here in Baltimore. I'm a big Orioles fan. I'm a Maryland Terps who just had a huge upset over the number 3 Purdue Boilermakers. I'm a Washington Capitals fan. In 2018, the Capitals won the Stanley Cup, and the reason knows is a big hockey fan. The Caps were a team that was like a 1 seed for like a decade and choked every year, and it finally happened in 2018. And Ovechkin got to lift up the cup with Backstrom, and Ovechkin just lost his father. So rest in peace, Mr.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
But Zach Thomas's Hall of Fame announcement felt similar to that Stanley Cup win for me. That's how special Zach Thomas was to me. I think he's the second greatest Dolphin of all time. I think he's one of the best stories in life lessons if you're a parent, that you can tell your son, a 5th round undersized guy that just strapped up every day and brought it every single day. I will be there for his induction. I got to see Dan, I got to see JT, and I get to kind of go out and see Zach, the 3 guys that defined my childhood. I think Zach Thomas is a warrior. I cried, and man, I have no shame in a minute, because man, those was tears of happiness, because that dude, I know how much he put in the tank, man, every day. The team, like, you got to think about the Dolphins when Zach was there, man. They were like Super Bowl favorites multiple times. They always choked. They could never really even get that run. But Mac, he stayed loyal to this team, this city. I mean, everything he ever did, he handled with class. He's a first-class dude, and, now he's a Hall of Famer. And that's really important to me as a Dolphins fan, to many as a Dolphins fan. The loyalty he just talked about in that video, right? Like, Dan Marino did the same thing here. I don't know if you know how I'm 40, so I'm older than probably a lot, but the Vikings were pushing for Dan hard, and Dan just said, I couldn't see myself in another jersey. That's special, man. And I know Zach did play for the Cowboys, but, like, for me, my 3 favorite athletes of all time are Marino, Ovechkin, and Cal Ripken Jr., all 3 guys that wore 1 jersey, man. Loyalty to me is the most important thing in the world. That's the thing. Like, I'm a loyal dude. You break that, it's over. I don't care what it is, right?
That's basically me, because mine's Marino, Sid, and Mario.
Right. And then, in my Mount Rushmore, Zach Thomas, and, I know he had that awful season in Dallas, but, like, I remember, man, when we would have those Sunday night games against Tennessee and he got that pick 60 rolled, when we had that game when Amari kicked that like 60-yarder and we beat the Broncos. And I just remember how good Zach Thomas was. And I live here in Baltimore. I hear about Ray Lewis. And, one of the things is, it's not about who's better. To me, Zach was right there. And he always was an underappreciated, game-changing linebacker. But, man, he's going to look damn good in that gold jacket.
Yeah,
I could talk about Zach Thomas till tomorrow, man. And, we're already an hour and 40 minutes here. So people are probably like, damn, you guys, I need to get my kids to bed, but I'm not turning off. So, but no, I think it was a huge milestone for the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, their Twitter account's fun, man. They do a great job.
About time.
It was a long time coming, but yeah, man, that video with Jimmy Johnson and Jimmy Johnson's wavering voice, man,
it's amazing.
I've watched that 500 times probably in the last week. But good Lord, man, it's going to be fun. And I think by the next time we get together, we're going to start hearing on some of these franchise tags, and we're going to start the football season's here. You've already seen restructures the Saints are making. You're going to start seeing cuts. The off season's coming fast and furious, and we're not far from draft season. I mean, it is draft season. I mean, man, this is, to me, I miss the boys on Sundays, Thursdays, and Mondays, right? But man, as a football fan, this is the most fun time of the year for me.
All right, guys. We'll be back next week. Here's the deal. Unless something breaks tomorrow, I am going to be back Saturday. I'll be live in the day. It's my birthday on Saturday, so we'll run a live stream. I appreciate you, man. We'll run a live stream for all of y'all to come out and come on during my birthday, and we'll have a little bit of a live stream on Saturday for y'all to come up, and we can talk football, we could talk life, whatever the case may be. So we'll run a live stream in the day for a little bit on Saturday. A couple shows next week. We're gonna have the finish line. We're gonna have Fin Too Deep, but also we're going to take a look at 5 players the Dolphins should keep, cut, and let walk. And then we're also going to get into and do next Friday, we'll do my top 10 free agent targets and honorable mentions. So we'll do about 20 players. I'll give you my top 20 players, and on the top 10, we'll look at some all 22 of them and stuff like that too. So a lot of stuff coming, and then the following week I'll be dropping my first big board, which will be the running backs. And again, like that'll be top 10 and then honorable mentions as well. And we'll have all 22 on the top 5 in my running back board. So a lot of stuff coming your way as we get into the draft. Man, and by the way, Patreons, I will be dropping a new episode of 3 Take Thursdays tonight, so be out on the lookout for that. If you want to join the Patreon for when that goes live, it usually goes live tonight. And patreon.com/Finside the NFL. Go join. Hey, $2 a month, or you can sign up for the whole year for just over $20. Go check it out. Wow. Patreon.com/Finside the NFL. And yeah, 3 Takes Thursday, episode 5 will be dropping tonight. And so be on the lookout for that. Until next time, everyone. Saturday on my birthday. Fins up, baby. We'll see y'all then.